Hello, this is Dr. Patrick Porter, and welcome back to the BrainTap Business Journal podcast. Today, we have a very special guest, someone I've known for many years, so many we don't want to mention it here, but we met a long time ago on a planet far, far away, and you've been helping our doctors, I should say helping your doctors, but also helping our doctors now because you've started to do a special program, and I'm talking about Dr. Bob Hoffman of the Master's Circle, and he's probably one of our biggest advocates, and he's probably number two behind me in knowing what BrainTap's all about because you've been helping so many doctors. And I do think, and we've talked about this before, Dr. Bob, that you are probably the most knowledgeable at the clinic level in how to implement and get people profitable with BrainTap. So welcome to the show.
Thank you, Patrick. It's always a pleasure.
So we've been talking over the years. Of course, you have your mainstay program, the Master Circle, which most of our viewers and most of our listeners have probably heard about, seen about, watched you on previous podcasts, but we have something really special in store for them in Raleigh this year at the BrainTap Business Summit, which our partners are in. So you're one of our main partners. You're going to be sharing some things. So tell us a little bit about what you have in store for our doctors.
Well, I'm thrilled that I'm going to get to speak each day, Friday and Saturday, short little bursts of pearls of wisdom, I hope. The first day, I am going to be talking specifically about the BrainTap optimization formula. I think one of the credentials you might want to give is that I've probably coached more people, including you, on how to implement BrainTap effectively in their chiropractic or healthcare wellness practice than anyone else. There are certain things that I've discovered work all the time, certain things that work only occasionally under certain conditions, and some things that absolutely never work. And I'm going to share what I consider the BrainTap optimization formula, the process, the protocols, the procedures, but also the communication skills. You know, quite frankly, one of the biggest problems almost everybody has is they don't know what to call it, how to describe it. They don't know how to communicate it to lay people, to patients so that they comprehend. They don't know how to explain the frequency or the duration of its use or what the outcome is or what it actually does. And you know and I know it's crazy simple, but that doesn't mean everybody thinks it's crazy simple. In fact, most people are confused. In the world of communication, Patrick, there's an old cliche. It says, if you confuse, you lose. And if members are confused, if doctors are confused, they're never going to be able to give clarity to their patient. Our brain is drawn towards clarity and shuts down during confusion. So I'm going to go over some key communication tips as well as the BrainTap optimization formula. On the second day, I'm going to be talking about some of the really foundational principles that I have found help every client grow their practice. I'm going to go over some of the real gems of coaching that apply to anyone and everyone, regardless of how they practice, how many or how few people they see each day, no matter what they charge. I know that that class will help every single person grow their business.
Right. And most of our members or brain tappers out there, the clinics, have read the book, Your Flourishing Brain. We changed that name to Your Flourishing Practice. And we're hoping to get some of this newest information into that book. So even if you read the book, you've heard about Dr. Bob, he's always learning and growing. So tell us about how you gathered this information so they know you just didn't sit somewhere on a mountaintop and meditate and come up with this. This is real world information.
Great question. First, I'd like to consider myself an innovator, a creative thinker. I also consider myself an expert communicator. So early on, before any of us really knew what was right or wrong, I was guiding doctors. Now, I personally speak to about 75 doctors every single week. So in my position, I get instant feedback. You know, I can go over with a doctor implementation strategies on a Monday, and the following Monday, I speak to them again, and I get feedback. And over a span of dozens of doctors, over a span of dozens of months, I kept, and I continue to this day, keep refining and tweaking and modifying the procedure so that we get better, more consistent results. You know, one of my most important core concepts is that ultra successful people are uncommonly skilled at implementation. I think I'm an implementation expert after all these years, and quite frankly, most people aren't. You know, they have the best of intentions, they really mean well, they put their money where their mouth is by investing in something like BrainTap, but they're not exactly sure how to implement. They're confused. Confusion paralyzes people. Clarity empowers them. So my job is to really help them get to that point of clarity and give them the power to go forward.
Yeah. And we've talked before, but when we do an assessment of our doctors that we have out there, our clinics, our top doctors in general, just overall, always seem to be master circle doctors. And I think that you and Dr. Perriman, you guys have the formula. You know what to do. You know how to teach people, how to educate them. So can you share a little bit? Because it's not, I mean, you have a whole team that's behind you helping these doctors and helping them to be successful. And we've been pretty close. I mean, we've known each other for years and years, but for the last 8 or 9 years, we've been pretty close, and you've been really excelling these practices. Yeah,
well, you know, you and I get to see each other quite often every year at multiple chiropractic seminars. We spend an enormous amount of time. I have the blessing and the gift that I get to coach you and Cynthia on a weekly basis. Not only are we dear friends, but I ask a lot of questions. I get to hear your presentations. You know, we've written 2 books together. Over that time, you know, you have some amazing, ridiculous skills, but I also have some amazing skills on how to implement it and put it into a practice, again, regardless of what size or geographical location. And I just think, you know, we've merged all of that data together, and we, as I said earlier, we keep redefining and reinventing and tweaking and modifying what we now call the BrainTap optimization formula, because we know it works everywhere and every time.
That's great. And we know we're going to have, right now, we're just at around 200 people at the conference in Raleigh. So we're pushing to get as many people there as possible. But I know that we spoke, and I said, is there any way that if somebody wants to do a clinic assessment, they could get on a schedule with you? So are you prepared to do that? And how would somebody set that up if they wanted to set up and talk to you either at the event or even before then? They don't have to wait because you have some specials for them.
Yes. Well, first, I'd be happy. I would urge people attending, doctors that are attending, I would urge them to want to have an assessment. You know, I could spend as little as 5 or 10 minutes, maybe as much as 15 or 20 minutes, depending on the circumstance. I can ask a few very important questions, and I promise you, I can tell you what's going on in your clinic. And that's what happens when you become a clinic whisperer. And I'm happy to do that before Raleigh. I'm happy to do that at Raleigh. I will be there all day on Friday. I'm speaking in the morning for 30 minutes, but I'll be there the entire day. I'm speaking again on Saturday morning, and I will be there until about noontime. Doctors could contact you guys and just get themselves scheduled at whatever time is available on Friday and on Saturday. Be my pleasure. I would love to do that face-to-face. But if that schedule doesn't work or they don't want to miss some of the summit, all they have to do is contact us, and it's complimentary. There's no charge. There's no obligation. It would be my pleasure. We could do it on Zoom just like this, which is free of charge, where we get to see each other. And if they're not comfortable with some of that technology, phones still work. I'm happy to speak to them on the phone. If they want to get in touch with my office, 800-451-4514. If they want to get in touch with me personally, bob@themasterscircle.net. Just email me. I'll set up a time with you. It'll be my pleasure to help you with your practice.
So I know we've talked about how can we get more of our doctors getting this unique training, the specialized training in the BrainTap to start maximizing its effectiveness and actually profitability in the practice. So you came up with some ideas for that. So can you share a little bit of that with us without giving away the farm here?
Well, that's not the easiest thing, but I'll try my best. Look, BrainTap is not only an amazing tool to help people rebalance their autonomic nervous system and heal neurologically. That's a given. But it's also an amazing back-end service that every doctor should have in his or her practice, regardless of how much or how little room or space they have to utilize this, that will not only help the patients, which is always the single most important thing, but also generate a lot of income. You don't have to charge a lot for it. It's relatively simple and easy to do. There is a system that we now have tested over and over again that we know that works. It befuddles me at the very least that there are doctors who purchase this and they use it at home on themselves, or it stays in the box with the best of intentions. It's knowing how to implement it in the office, giving them, again, that clarity and that system to implement it in the office. That's what I'm going to talk about in great detail. And again, anybody who contacts me, I'm happy to help them with that. But that's what my presentation's about. And I hope my answer kind of sort of answered you, but I hope it inspired people to attend and be there and to take some copious notes and then to follow up with a conversation with me.
Right. Like you had said earlier, that I get coached by you, Cynthia gets coached by you. We believe in coaching. We think that every practice should have a coach. And if using BrainTap, let's get involved with the coaches that are ahead of the game, which I think are the Master's Circle. And at this time, which I don't foresee it changing anytime in the future unless you and Dennis decide you're not going to practice anymore coaching, this is the coaching solution that BrainTap recommends. There is no other coach. I mean, there are other people out there doing different things, and maybe they're utilizing BrainTap, but what I like about what you're doing is you are brain-centric. You've taken that brain message and you're taking it out to the chiropractic market, and then the doctors that aren't quite able to see the forest through the trees, or as they say, you're able to say, hey, here's the connection from all the research. I mean, you have so much information to share with doctors that this is just the very tip of the iceberg. But is there anything we're leaving out that somebody out there listening says, hey, I need to get a hold of Bob Hoffman today?
Well, first, thank you for that. Those are terrific comments and compliments. I think you shared with me that something like 8 out of every 10 of your best BrainTap clients are Master Circle doctors. That's not an accident or a coincidence. There's a system. That's number one. Number two, I also want to share that there's an intent here. There's a commitment here that's really, really important. I want my doctors to succeed. I want to teach them how to adapt in practice to the changing times. One of the ways of adapting is changing the conversation. Communication is the key to success. It's just that simple. When I make a comment like, if you confuse, you lose, that's part of communication. But it's knowing how to communicate and how to speak to people, how not to be so vague and be specific, and how to use emotionally charged words instead of just logic, and how to, communication isn't what we say, Patrick. It's what the other person hears, understands, and acts on. And it's getting that to that point of influencing how people think and then behave that separates the winners from the people who are struggling. In a perfect world, those of us that had the best clinical outcomes should have the best practices, but in the real world, those of us who communicate the best have the best practices and the most thriving practices. So those are the kinds of things that I really want to help your docs with. Yes, practice has changed. Society has changed. Patients' needs have changed. Patients are sicker today than ever before on many different levels. We have to change the questions we ask. We have to change our intake procedures. We have to change our communication strategies, our business model. There are, in addition to BrainTap, amazing tools and technology out there that are all brain-centric. Your heart rate variability is one of the tools I recommend to every one of my doctors. How do you assess autonomic nerve system function unless you have a heart rate variability instrument of some sort? If you don't, what happens is we fall prey to managing patients, or worse, having the patients manage themselves based on symptoms. When a patient feels better, they're done with care in their mind. And this is one of the primary reasons for burnout for the doctor. They're very frustrated that these really nice people come in, they feel that they really hit it off with them, they get it, and then as soon as they feel better, they're done. So what I've learned and what I've discovered is if we don't manage the patient based on how they function or dysfunction, the patient always defaults to managing themselves based on how they feel. And that is one of the primary problems preventing growth in any doctor's office.
So there you have it. We have Dr. Bob Hoffman talking about brain-based wellness and how we can implement it into the chiropractic practice. He's going to be with us at the BrainTap Summit on March 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. If you're not already scheduled, give our office a call at 302-721-6677. We still have a few spaces left. You can also go online. If you want to learn more about it, go to braintaptech.com/summit-2019. And we've had to move it for those wondering why we're doing it in the spring. We had our hurricane, but we're back. And the nice thing was that all of our speakers, including Dr. Bob Hoffman, have this weekend available. So we have our lineup. We have about 25 really unique doctors. They're all either partners with us. There's no one outside of the BrainTap world here. They have some connection to BrainTap and how they're using it. We're bringing our partners in. And this is our partner in the field of coaching. And we believe everyone needs a coach. So if you have a coach in other fields, maybe in what you're doing, that's fine. But Dr. Bob and his group specializes in brain-based wellness. So not just the BrainTap, that's one piece of the equation. They can teach you how to make that conversion from what we like to term from pain to brain, so you can have a thriving practice. There's no reason you should suffer without having the income that you deserve. Some of the authors and speakers that I have spoke with, like Dr. Arkfeld, he felt like he was going to get out of practice, but he changed his mind and changed his practice to brain-based. Now he's going to be there sharing it at the BrainTap Summit, and he's somebody that has made the conversion. You can help them make the conversion. So I want to thank you for being on the podcast today. There's a lot more I know that you have inside you, and we're gonna hopefully be updating the book with this new information we're going to learn at the summit. And people can learn that update live, and they can get a scheduled time with you. So I can't push this enough. Call our office, email Dr. Bob at bob@themastercircle.net, and set up a time to meet with him. He's willing to give you his time. He's not going to charge you for it while you're there, so you better get it while you can. This is a person who's in high demand, so let's give him a call. Let's get the meeting. It doesn't cost you anything to find out. They say that there's a cost to change, but there's also a big expense in ignorance. So we need to make sure that you get enlightened, find out if this is something that will work for you. And I know if you're part of the BrainTap universe, this is definitely something that can help you. Come to the seminar, see for yourself, experience it for yourself. Communication is key, just as we've heard in today's podcast. So thanks again, Dr. Bob, for being on the call.
Thank you so much for having me, Patrick. I look forward to seeing everybody in Raleigh and helping all those people in attendance really crush it. And again, if anyone wants to contact me ahead of time, be my pleasure. I just want to help as many people as I can live their best life and have their best practice.
That's great. And if you're listening to this right now in your automobile or somewhere where you can't see the online version, go back to the online version. We'll have Dr. Bob's information as far as his website, his email, his contact information. And you can always contact Talina at the office here at BrainTap, and we'll schedule you a time while you're at the conference to set aside that 15 or 20 minutes to talk to Dr. Bob and see what they can do for you and help you to grow your practice and your personal life. So it's not just about your practice. I know you're a big believer like we are, and as you grow, so does your practice. So we'll get you to that point. So again, thanks a lot for being on the call. Look forward to seeing you here in a few weeks. And until then, keep brain tapping.